YouTube. I'm here to do my prediction video for Edgar versus Jung. This is the last card of the year. Let's start the bottom. The first fight is Huli, can't say his other name, versus Ryan Benoit. And to me, I think Huli is a decent overall fighter, but I think that he's, not the greatest fighter ever. I think he's just mediocre at best. I think Ryan Benoit is definitely the much better wrestler more than anything. Striking-wise, it's probably close, but overall grappling, I think, too, Ryan Benoit has an advantage. I think Ryan Benoit can get this to the ground whenever he wants. I think he can ground and pound the shit out of this guy and win by first or second round knockout. On the feet, too, I just think he's way better. So I'm picking Ryan Benoit by either round 1 or 2 KO. Next is Miranda Granger versus Amanda Lemos. And to me, Amanda's basically just a striker. I don't think she's that great anywhere else. I think Granger has a massive advantage on the ground. She's not the best striker ever, but she's okay. Like I said, on the feet, it's probably close. Amanda might be a little bit better, but I don't think it matters. I think once Granger makes this hit the ground, she's going to win by submission pretty fast. That's what I see happening. I think Granger gets a first-round sub. Next is Hani Barsalis versus Saeed Nurmagomedov. And to me, Saeed's a really good striker, but we haven't really seen him on the ground. I really want to see that. I think Ronnie Barsalis is, striking-wise, Saeed's probably the more technical guy. I think Barsalis definitely hits a lot harder. But I definitely think Barsalis probably has the advantage on the ground. Like I said, I haven't seen Saeed on the ground that much, so it's hard to tell how good his ground game is. But I'd have to be willing to bet that Barsalis is probably better there. And that's just kind of what I'm leaning towards. I think on the feet, we're going to see it pretty close. Saeed's probably going to outstrike him a little bit before eventually Barsalis takes us to the ground and probably wins by first-round sub. Next is Alexandre Pantoja versus Matt Schnell. And this is just kind of like Schnell's speed versus Pantoja's power. I think on the ground, Pantoja has a massive advantage too if it goes there. But I don't think it will. I think this fight's going to be on the feet, and I think it's probably going to end in the first. I don't think Matt Schnell is the greatest at absorbing hits. He's gotten faster and more technical with his hands, but I still think his striking defense isn't the greatest. And I think this is going to happen. I think Pantoja is eventually going to land the big shot and win by knockout. I don't know if it's in the first, but it's probably in the first 2 rounds. And like I said, if Pantoja does take this to the ground, I think he's got a massive advantage there. And Matt Schnell's biggest weakness is he's willing to grapple with dudes on the ground, and I think Pantoja's got a few levels on him there. So I don't know if he's going to win by knockout or sub, but it's probably going to be in the first or second round. Next is Dong-Hyu Ma versus Omar. Can't say the rest of his name. To me, Omar has a massive advantage in striking. I think if Ma can get this to the ground, he has a slight advantage there, but I really don't see it. I think Omar's just too powerful. I think that this is going to be a striking fight for as long as it lasts, and I just like Omar's power in this one. Like I said, if Ma could get this to the ground, I definitely think he has a strong chance of winning by submission, but I just think Omar keeps on the feet, outstrikes Ma, and wins by KO in either the first or second round. Next is Sung Woo Choi versus Suman Mokhtarian, and this is 100% striker versus grappler. Choi wants to strike, Mokhtarian wants to get to the ground. To me, Mokhtarian has not looked good in any fight I've ever seen him in. I mean, he probably is a good grappler, but he's never gotten it there. I know people have said his jiu-jitsu is good, but like I said, he's never been able to get it there. I think that Choi doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, but he's very hard to hold down. We've seen that in both of his UFC fights. I mean, even though he gets taken down very easily, guys have a very hard time holding him down. If he can work on his takedown defense, I think he could be a legit guy in the future. Until then, he's just kind of okay at best. But like I said, I don't think Suman has the type of wrestling the last 2 guys he fought did. And I think Choi's going to be able to keep this on the feet or get back up right away like he usually does. And Suman will get tired of just going for takedowns and not being able to hold him down. I think Choi will just light him up on the feet, like how Suman's been knocked out a few times, and I think Choi's going to win by second or third round knockout. Next, we got Cyril Gane versus Tanner Boser, and Tanner's a very good technical striker, but that's about it. I think Gane is the better striker overall. I also think he has a lot more punching power. And not only that, I think on the ground, Gane's got a massive advantage. I think if Gane can get this ground once, that's probably it. I think he'll probably win by TKO from ground and pound if he can get it there. And that's what I see happening. I think Gane will eventually either catch him on the feet or take him down, and it's probably going to be in the first round because, like I said, Tanner Boser is just a technical karate fighter, and that's about it. Gane's going to win by first round KO. Whether it's striking or on ground and pound, I just got Gane winning all day. Next, we got Kyung Ho Kang versus Louis Pyong. And to me, Louis Pyong he's okay, but I feel like he should be on a 2-fight losing streak. He clearly lost to Dustin Day, and he got knocked out in his last fight. He's a jiu-jitsu guy more than anything with some decent striking. I think Kang's the better striker, and Grappling-wise, it's probably close. Yang is probably more aggressive, but Kang is probably a little bit more technical. But I don't think it matters. I think Kang's got a pretty big advantage on the feet, and I think his judo is going to help him with the takedown defense. And like I said, I think he's eventually going to catch Pang coming in with a strike. So I got Kyung-Hyo Kang winning by round like 2 KO. Next we got Jung-Young Park versus Mark Andre. To me, Mark is a good striker, but his takedown defense isn't that great, and his ability to get back up is not that great either. He's 0-2 in the UFC, and it's kind of the same thing. You see the good striking, but when guys kind of really use the wrestling on him, he has a hard time getting away from them when they push him against the fence or on the ground. And I think Jung-Young Park is going to be able to do that. I think this fight's going to be like Mark's last 2 fights. It's going to be a close back-and-forth fight, and then Park is going to be able to hit takedowns when he needs to and just kind of grind out the close rounds. You know what I mean? All the rounds are going to be close like Mark's last 2 fights, but it's like I said, I think Park will get the takedowns towards the end of the round and just edge out all 3 rounds, or at least 2 of the 3. So I got Park winning by decision. Next is Da Eun-jung versus Mike Rodriguez, and this is kind of, they're both primarily strikers, but I think Jung's got a massive advantage grappling-wise. If he can get to the ground, I think he can wear out Mike and win by submission. Mike's biggest issue is he gasses pretty hard, and Jung, to me, showed great gas in his last fight. You know, he finished with a late 3rd round sub with like a guillotine, that like standing, like rear naked guillotine. He looked good in that fight. His conditioning was good, and even though he doesn't use his ground game a lot, I know he has a judo background, and if he really tried, I bet he could get Rodriguez to the ground if he's ever like caught on the feet with a decent shot. Like I said, striking-wise, these guys are pretty close. Mike's probably a little bit more technical. He's got a little bit more range, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think Jung will do what he kind of did in his last fight, kind of weather the 1st round storm and either win the next 2 rounds or win by sub late in like the 3rd. So I got Jung winning either by decision or 3rd round submission. Next we got Doo-Ho Choi versus Charles, can't say his last name, and Charles looks like a decent up-and-comer, but I just think Choi looks better everywhere. His striking and takedown defense are really, really good. Like, Charles is a really well-rounded guy, primarily a striker, but unless Choi's just gotten massively shittier since his last fight, he should be able to win by knockout in the 1st round. I think they're trying to give him, you know, a decent guy who can, you know, give him a little bit of a test for his 1st fight back. But yeah, I think Choi's got the overall technique, speed, and power advantage in the striking, and that's where I see this fight taking place. So I got Choi doing what he usually does and winning by 1st round KO. Next we got Volkan Ozdemir versus Alexander Rakic. And this depends entirely on if the judges can score the fight right, because I imagine this fight's going to be just like Ozdemir's fight against the other guy that he fought, the Mexican dude. I think that the striking is going to be close, but Ozdemir will hit takedowns when he needs to and win by decision. I mean, he clearly beat that one guy. I don't know why the fuck I can't remember his name. He's fighting John Jones, but you know what I mean? Ozdemir won that fight 2 rounds to 1, or 3-0 in my opinion. He was able to, the striking was pretty even. He was able to hit takedowns every round. I think the same thing is going to happen in this fight. I think the striking is going to be more or less even, and then Ozdemir is just going to hit the takedowns when he needs to edge out the decision. I don't think there's a massive gap in striking for either of these guys. I just think the massive gap is in Ozdemir's wrestling. His wrestling is really underrated, and when he goes for takedowns, he usually gets them. So I'm going to go with Ozdemir winning by decision. And finally, we got Frankie Edgar versus Chan Sung Jung. And my only thing is Frankie Edgar seems like he's slowing down a tiny bit. I feel like he's getting hit a lot more than he used to. He always had kind of a weakness with his striking defense because he keeps his hands a little low and like out here kind of. I just feel like Chang, we've seen how good his power is, and you know, Chang is very hittable too. That's the biggest thing with both these guys, they're hittable. But I think Jung's the naturally bigger guy. I also think he's the naturally heavier-handed guy. And on the ground, it's probably even. Frankie's obviously the better wrestler, but I think Jung's jiu-jitsu is good enough to either keep Frankie from not wanting to go there or to get it back to the feet. And my biggest thing is Jung just has more power in his hands, and we've seen Frankie Edgar is getting hit more nowadays than he usually used to, and he's been knocked out by fucking what's-his-face recently, and I just think Jung's going to edge out a decision or win by knockout. I just feel like Jung's going to do kind of like, I'm sorry for saying decision, I just think he's going to catch him. I think he's going to catch him like how Brian Ortega did, and I don't know if he'll knock him out, but I think he's either going to drop him pretty bad in the 1st or 2nd round and either win by knockout or submission. I just feel like Jung's looked amazing. The Yair Rodriguez fight is something people bring up, but it's like, that was bullshit. He was winning that whole fight before Yair really just threw a Hail Mary strike and one guy by lucky KO. Other than that, he's on a 3-fight win streak at this point against 3 really good dudes, you know? And I don't think that's going to stop. I think this is, you know, this is his time. He's getting close to a title shot. And I would be surprised after this win, he's one more win away from a title shot. So I'm picking Jung. I think this fight will be a really fun fight. It'll probably be fight of the night, but I think round 2, probably Jung's going to catch Frankie and win by either KO or sub. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.